Just ahead on American Black Journal, the Ebola outbreak in West Africa has Detroit's Liberian community concerned about their homeland. We'll talk about efforts to help victims, and we'll hear how the state of Michigan plans to protect residents from Ebola. Plus, the new head of the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation is here to talk about his vision for the city. Stay with us.
At DTE Energy, we believe that we have a greater responsibility. We believe that being part of a community means being involved in the fabric of that community, investing time, effort, and resources in the communities we serve. DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of American Black Journal.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. The Ebola outbreak in West Africa is the largest in history. More than 10,000 people have been infected in several African countries. And now that a few Ebola cases have been identified here in the United States, it's important to know the facts about the disease. Ebola is a virus that generally lives in animals found in Africa. Humans can become infected after contact with these animals. The diagnosis is made through a blood test. Ebola is spread through direct contact with bodily fluids from an infected person who is experiencing symptoms. And there is no medicine or vaccine for Ebola. Prevention is key. Joining me now is a member of Detroit's Liberian community, Reverend Charles Boayu of Second Grace United Methodist Church, along with the state's chief medical executive, Dr. Matthew Davis. Welcome to American Black Journal. So obviously this is something that's been in the headlines quite a bit. There's an argument about is this overreaction? Are people panicking? Or is this something that people should be really worried about? For you, Doctor, this is a very personal story. You're sitting here watching this sort of unfold in your home country and with your family.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for having me on the journal today. It is a personal story for me and many thousands of Liberians, including those in the Detroit metropolitan community. The reaction to Ebola, as deadly as it is, can be justified in many ways. You know, we just hope that people will moderate their reaction, learn the facts, so that our common humanity is not violated while people suffer.
Right, right. And what is it that you're hearing from your family in Liberia right now?
Well, about 7 weeks ago, my uncle, his son, and his son's wife died of Ebola in Liberia's second largest city, Ganta. Many who I know have died. People in my congregation have lost loved ones. And 2 days ago, I got encouraging news that it seems to be slowing down the number of cases showing up. I hope it would turn out to be the truth.
Right, right. Dr. Davis, so we've got, I guess, 10 people now in Michigan on a watch list for potential infection. Is that all we need to be doing? And how worried should people be here about the spread of the disease?
Well, Stephen, as we just heard from the Reverend, the real focal point for Ebola disease in terms of the outbreak is West Africa, particularly Liberia. And we have many community members here in Michigan who are directly affected.
Right.
In terms of Liberians coming here as family members or healthcare workers from Michigan going to work there and be part of the American effort to help and then returning, what we need to do is apply fundamental public health principles that we've been using for decades, even more than 100 years. That means if people have been at risk, in other words, have possibly been exposed to Ebola, we need to understand their level of risk and then act accordingly using the teams of people in local public health and state public health to make sure they have the support and the information they need to monitor themselves and get in touch with public health if they're concerned.
Yeah, yeah. Have you considered going back home to try to be part of the effort to stop that? I mean, is that something that you feel a pull to do?
Yes, I feel a desire to help. Although I'm not a healthcare professional, I go home every year for about a month. and I've been helping with other things. Recently, an organization I'm a part of partnered with the Detroit-based World Medical Relief to send to one of the hospitals in Liberia almost $600,000 worth of Ebola fighting medical supplies. And right now, underway, the Liberian Association of Michigan is working with World Medical Relief for a second similar container to go to Liberia.
And is that sort of the approach that look, let's figure out what we can do from here to sort of help with treatment?
Right, because even in Liberia, like Michigan is doing, and I applaud the efforts in Michigan, in Liberia, the government is not encouraging a lot of people to come in who will not be prepared to deal with Ebola effectively.
Right.
A movement within the country is restricted to try and contain the disease. So Liberians here, for the most part, who are not first responders, are trying to supply what is needed to those who are there to help.
Right. Doctor, I mean, I think a lot of people look at this, the situation in Africa and think, well, that could very easily happen here. Why is that not a valid concern?
We're not likely to see the same level of outbreak of Ebola here in the United States for a couple of reasons. First of all, the extent of the public health system and even the healthcare system in the U.S. is different than it is in Liberia.
Right.
There are some more resources and more personnel that can be used to immediately understand if a person has Ebola, who they would have come in contact with, and then take the immediate steps to try to control any further spread of that Ebola illness. As we've seen here in the United States, actually, even the healthcare workers who did contract Ebola as part of treating Mr. Duncan in Texas have now been appropriately treated and have both left the hospital.
Right.
There have been no other cases from that initial exposure.
Right.
So we're not likely to see a widespread outbreak. I do understand the level of public concern because Ebola is a major threat to human health, certainly in West Africa. And what we're doing here in Michigan is to try to respond with a clear plan and calm, while acknowledging that for many individuals and families, this is naturally on their mind every day.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel as though, and this has got to enter your mind, I mean, just that imbalance, right? This is the wealthiest nation on the planet. Liberia is one of the poorest, and you see this outbreak there, and you see the lack of resources. It's got to be frustrating to sort of be here and feel that your home is such a different place and has such limited ability to deal with this.
Yes. Liberia recently came out of a 15-year civil war, a small country fighting for 15 years against each other. Left the country, its infrastructure, its ability to respond to any emergency seriously compromised. And so as the nation is seeking to rebuild, not only infrastructure like bridges and roads and schools and hospitals and transportation means, but also to build relationships among the people.
Repair that social and cultural fabric.
To come up with, for Ebola to strike so deadly and so quickly is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And those who help Liberia and Sierra Leone and Guinea are among the finest people on earth. Because when it comes to epidemics and things that threaten human life, as Ebola, we are all one.
Yes, right. There's no difference, right? Yeah.
And we look forward to any kind of help that can come. A statement has been made, and I don't know the source of it originally, that you know your best friends when you are in your worst compromised situation.
Right.
Those who truly come, who do not have to come, but come to your rescue.
Right.
Are the people who you will remember when you wake up and when you get up.
Right.
So Liberia, America's longtime friend. America has had a relationship with Liberia longer than any other country in Africa.
People forget that this was, you know, dating back to President Monroe, this idea that a place that African slaves could go and sort of repatriate to the African continent. I mean, it's that old of a relationship.
Yes. In fact, sometimes I look at America is facing its challenges too. Every country has those to do. But if you consider this Ebola epidemic and the opportunity it provides for American foreign policy in Africa.
Sure.
West Africa is the population center of Africa, from Nigeria to Senegal along the Atlantic belt. It is the oldest economic and political part of Africa, maybe in part because of its exposure geographically to the Western Hemisphere.
West. Sure.
You know, most of the commerce and industry in Africa is along the Atlantic side.
Area.
This is an opportunity for the United States and any nation that loves democracy, since Liberia has elected Africa's first woman president,
right.
To build the kind of trust that we need as a model for the new Africa.
Right, right.
You know, it is an opportunity to build health infrastructures beyond a response to Ebola.
Right, and that could help with general health and,
yes.
and maintenance, health maintenance, as opposed to responding to contagion or crisis.
And the resources needed to do that will be just fractions of the resources spent by the U.S. or many other efforts in the world that end up being wasted.
Right, that's right. Why is it that, Doctor, why is it that we're seeing this outbreak now in West Africa? I mean, I think everyone remembers that there was a pretty big outbreak before, and I don't remember what year that was, but what sort of allows the disease to sort of resurface in this way?
Sure, Stephen. What's thought about this outbreak is that it's the first one that has really affected urban centers in quite this way. The previous outbreaks over the past couple of decades in other parts of Africa have all been in much more rural areas, where even though there has been a rapid spread of Ebola, including in some limited circumstances to healthcare workers, essentially the spread could not be very much because the population affected was so small.
Right.
What has changed this time around is that major population centers in all three countries, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, have been affected in major ways. And because of the limited infrastructure that we mentioned a few days ago, and the fact that healthcare workers themselves have been so dearly affected by the illness itself, the health systems in those countries have really struggled to address such a fast-moving epidemic.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why the help of the United States and other countries, hopefully, that we'll see jumping in to help out will be so critical to helping bring this under control.
Right.
If we're not able to bring it under control, we will likely have this challenge of Ebola in many other countries around the world for many, not just months, but years to come.
Right, right. And so the state's preparation for this would include what you're doing plus some other things, correct?
Well, there are a couple of main things that the state of Michigan is working on with its local public health partners. One is the active monitoring program like we've talked about for any travelers coming from West Africa or in limited circumstances, healthcare workers here in the United States who may have come into contact with people with Ebola. The risk of each traveler is assessed, and the strategy for monitoring is put into play based on that level of risk.
Right.
Those individuals under monitoring who do not have symptoms are not a risk to the health of the public.
Right.
The other thing that we can do here in Michigan is team up together with other states that have said we want to encourage healthcare workers to do this humanitarian work.
Right.
We do not want to penalize them when they return. We certainly want to support them, and if they do have health risks, act accordingly. But we need to encourage the humanitarian impulse that people in healthcare have and want to express in their work in West Africa.
Right, right. And we are not discouraging, that's a good point. We are not going to discourage people from going to help. That's not good policy.
Correct. We must help control the outbreak in West Africa for our brothers and sisters there.
Right.
For their reasons, for their communities, and also for the world community that really wants to be free of this challenge of Ebola and wants to be able to respond in a coordinated way.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for being here. This is a crisis that hopefully we'll get past, and obviously prayers to your family in Liberia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just ahead on American Black Journal, the new president of the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation is here to talk about his plans to revitalize business in the city. That's next, right after this look at some important moments in Detroit's Black history.
I'm Ken Coleman with a look back at African American life in Detroit. This week in 1970, Richard H. Austin was elected Michigan's Secretary of State. In 1984, Prince kicked off his Purple Rain tour at Joe Louis Arena. And in 1973, Coleman A. Young was elected mayor. He was the first black to achieve this honor. These are significant events this week in Detroit's Black history, taken from the book On This Day, African American Life in Detroit.
The Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, also known as the DEGC, is tasked with helping businesses succeed in Detroit. The nonprofit organization works closely with the city and other partners to support existing businesses and attract new companies. In September, the DEGC welcomed a new president and CEO. I'm pleased to have him here as a guest on American Black Journal. Please welcome Roderick Miller. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so you're from New Orleans, another very troubled city with a lot of development challenges. Tell me what you see. I'm always very curious with people who come here from other places. What do you see here that reminds you of New Orleans in terms of the problems that we have, but also what do you see in terms of opportunity for us here?
So one of the things, that both cities are urban cities with large African-American populations, and unfortunately they share the same challenge in terms of poverty and economic disparity.
Right.
I mean, when you look at a city like Detroit, you're talking about a 27% unemployment rate, which is 3 times the national average. You're talking about 58% of kids living in poverty, a third of the adult population living in poverty. And you're talking about, we're starting to see the city turn the corner. However, those opportunities haven't necessarily been distributed throughout the entire community. And so I think, there's a huge opportunity to really focus on how do we build a sustainable economy that creates opportunities for everybody.
Yeah, so I'm glad you got to that right away. That is the central development question, I think, here in Detroit in a lot of people's minds right now is we've got all this activity going on in downtown and in midtown, and people are all universally excited about that. But I think there's a little head scratching about, well, what about all these other places? I mean, we got 140 square miles of Detroit, and a lot of it is still struggling, and the opportunity is the thing that people are missing. So what is it that we have to do to take what we're doing downtown and in midtown and make it matter to people who live in other parts?
So there are a few things that are critical. One is to have a clear direction. I've asked around and I've talked and I've seen the future city plan and other plans, but there's not a clear economic strategy for where we want to be as a city in 5 years,
That's
and
true.
7 years, and 10 years. That's one of the things I think is vitally important, that the DGC work with the city, with the community, with other partners to figure out.
To figure that stuff out?
To figure that out. So that's number one. Number two is that key to economic inclusion is economic participation. So how do you have economic participation? There's a couple of things. One is jobs.
Right.
So when we look at our top 10, top 20 largest employers, looking at what their long-term plans for employment are in the city and really aligning workforce development programs with those opportunities. When we look at our opportunity as a city to attract companies, aligning workforce development with that so people can move into those jobs. That's number two. Number three is, I would say, is small business. Small business is the backbone of Detroit's economy. We've got several programs at Detroit Economic Growth Corporation focused on helping small businesses grow, whether it's Any Ideas, which is, for businesses that have been around.
Right.
Or the D2D program, which figures out how to partner Detroit businesses with other Detroit businesses to do business. Or the Revolve program, which helps startup companies identify spaces. We've got to focus on growing small businesses and helping make sure that they're scalable and they employ our people.
Right. Your predecessor in the job was someone I talked to an awful lot, and he used to make the point to me all the time that a lot of people see the DEGC as a downtown, midtown institution, and that's where the big sort of headline-grabbing projects go on, but that most of the work, in fact, the DEGC does is out in those neighborhoods and doesn't get as much attention trying to build up that infrastructure that you're talking about.
That's very true. And one of the things is critical mass. I mean, so you've got critical mass that's happening downtown, along the riverfront. You've got critical mass in Midtown. Now the challenge is how do we focus efforts? Because really focusing efforts on some targeted areas to make sure that there is an abundance of resources funneling to those areas to help the economic recovery is vitally important to people actually beginning to feel it on a much more real level, their opportunities for economic advancement.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about community benefits agreements too. That's another issue that's been hotly debated locally. We've got this Red Wings arena project that's going on, and we do not have a community benefits agreement for that project, which I think has inspired a lot of people to say, well, hold on a second. We got to make sure this doesn't happen again. So you have city council saying, let's pass a law, which, you know, that's what legislative bodies do, right? They pass laws. You don't think that's a great idea?
What I don't think is a great idea is to have a one-size-fits-all law. This law wouldn't just cover deals like the arena deal or deals like the marathon deal. This law would cover things like an affordable housing project that's $4 or $5 million.
Right, very small projects.
It would cover very small projects, and we hadn't shown historically the capacity to enforce on these things here in the city. So I think we need to move something forward that's much more thoughtful and much more nuanced. That says, you know, for projects of a certain size, it's important that they have community benefits agreements. But I believe that fundamentally, every project that receives some sort of public incentive should have a direct return on investment for the community.
Right.
What's that direct return on investment? That's things such as jobs for Detroiters. Yep. That's things such as improvements to local infrastructure. Those sorts of things. There are ways to get there that are much more nuanced and much more enforceable.
Right. You don't need a hammer to do this the right way. Maybe you
well,
use,
quite frankly, I think a hammer is appropriate. However, that's the wrong hammer.
Right.
Because why that? I mean that legally through development agreements, we can enforce job creation. We can enforce benefits for communities, and we've not necessarily done that through the tools that we already have historically.
Right. So is your? I mean, I know that you're talking with members of City Council. Do you feel like we'll get there to a place where we can all sort of agree on? What's interesting is that I don't think anybody disagrees that we need community benefits agreements, and that we've got some high-profile projects that don't have them. It's a question of how to get there.
It's a question of how to get there, and I do think we will. One of the things that I'll say is I highly commend Council President Jones, because she has taken this issue, even though we disagree on how to get there, she's taken this issue and said community benefits are vital and we've got to do better.
Right.
And we're on the same page. We actually agree 100% on the objectives.
Right.
We just disagree on how to get there.
It's a question of the methodology.
And I sincerely believe that there's an effort on her part, there's an effort on the part of the administration, there's an effort across the board to figure out how we get there in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. Of course, downtown, midtown, doing much better than they had before. I think we tend to overstate how much change there has been. When I go to other cities, I still see big gaps between Detroit and those places. What are the things we need to do going forward to make sure that momentum continues and make sure that we have as strong a core as we can?
So in addition to continuing to develop a strategic plan for the economy, in addition to that, in addition to workforce policy, I would also say that one of the things that we have to do better is tell our story. Right now, we let others tell our story. We let others tell the story of Detroit. We've got to tell the story of Detroit. As someone who's not from here, I was blown away by how incredible this city is. I love this city, and I've only been here 6 weeks.
Right.
And I think we can't let the national media define who we are. We know who we are, and we've got to tell that story, and why there's a clear value proposition for businesses to move here and a clear value proposition for people to move here.
Yeah. In the past, DEGC has had control of some pretty prominent sites that have sat undeveloped for a long time. Tiger Stadium is one of them, which has led people to be really frustrated with the agency and say that it's sometimes an impediment to development. How do you address things like that?
Well, the DEGC has to respond within the context of the greater economy. So if we look at, of course, post-2007, 2008, nationally we saw that there was a lack of investment going on. And of course, Michigan, unfortunately, has done worse than the rest of the national economy.
Absolutely.
So quite frankly, the DEGC isn't able to spur investment in an investment environment on the national scene where there is an opportunity. However, the beauty of the DEGC is that we've got a variety of tools, whether it's the ability to assemble land, whether it's the ability through our agencies to release bonds or those sorts of things, that we can encourage things to happen. And I'm excited about it. I think, you know, moving forward, we will be much more aggressive on reaching out to investors around the country, around the opportunities that are here in Detroit. And I think one of the things that we should be doing is reaching out to African-American investors, because we are an African-American city.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people will talk about a lot here is who participates, and you've got to get. I mean, you'll be asked to answer answer those critics real soon, right?
Yeah. Everybody has to participate. If we don't have an economy where everybody's participating, we fail, because all we're going to do is exacerbate the gap between the have and the have-nots.
Right. Yeah. Which is, we're already starting to see some blowback over that. But you know, that gap between downtown and the neighborhoods is really starting to gray. It's starting to glare because downtown is really starting to come on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to Detroit. I'm sure you'll go home for Mardi Gras in February, but it's good to have you here. And I always say it's really important that we get people from other places with other experiences to come sort of bring their skills to bear on our problems here. So
I'm very excited. I think Detroit is, I know Detroit is on its way up, and I'm very glad that the people of Detroit have been so welcoming of me, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Yeah, great. Great to have you here. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org. And as always, you can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. Plus, you can now hear episodes of American Black Journal on the radio. Tune into WDET 1019 FM on Fridays at 9:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. We'll see you next time.
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you.
At DTE Energy, we believe that we have a greater responsibility. We believe that being part of a community means being involved in the fabric of that community, investing time, effort, and resources in the communities we serve. DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of American Black Journal.